Thank you very much. I'm joined by Anivia and Karna right here. Froggen, congratulations on the 2-0. How are you feeling about that?
Thank you. I feel pretty good.
That's good to hear. So I want to especially talk about bouncing back from last week because you had a very, we'll say, unlucky loss to Liquid. You had some games you're probably supposed to win, and sort of tell me how you bounced back from a very rough week to this one where you look much better.
To me, it just feels like I'm back in Alliance because we had this thing with we always win or lose in the odd weeks, right? So it's pretty much back to that point. So I don't know. I just deal with it.
So that means you're definitely beating TSM tomorrow.
Yes.
All right, definitely beating TSM tomorrow. That's great. Something else I want to talk to you about, though. I find your team really compelling in pick ban. You're pulling TF and Anivia bans a lot of the time. You've got Singed and Swain in the top lane. You did the LeBlanc Rengar trade early in this series. What is it that sort of has you play this unusual pick ban style where you're doing things that other teams don't?
We just try to find stuff that we kind of want to work with and champions that we're good at. And that's kind of unknown too, because it makes it harder for the other team to do pick and ban, and it makes it easier for us to play the game because we're already good at those champions. So I think it's just a bit of a different approach.
And I got to say, I like the approach. It's working for you right now. Of course, 3 and 4 is an okay start, certainly better than it was last split. And I wanted to ask, projecting forward, where do you, I guess, two-part question, where do you see EchoFox right now, placing-wise? How good are you? And then by the end of the split, how high are you going to go?
I think we have seen how well we can play when we actually play together and play really well. But we have also seen how bad we can play whenever we don't play together. So right now, it's pretty hard to predict. It's mostly just does everybody step up in practice? Do we do the same things that we do on stage? How well do we actually practice so we don't just waste our time? If we do that really well, then I think we can be a good, be pretty good coming into playoffs.
All right. If you make it, it seems like you're likely to, sitting right now in a tie for 5th. Froggen, thank you very much. Congratulations on the win. See you against TSM tomorrow. Back to the analyst desk.
Thank you very much, Freak. An absolutely dominant performance here in Game 2 from EchoFox over CLG. And interestingly enough, they have officially matched their game wins from their 1-17 season already here, first game of Week 4. That's 8 game wins, but already a better match record, moving to 3 and 4.
And I mean, it's not just, they have more wins. They actually look a lot better, too, in terms of how their team works. They have clear game plans. They have extremely strong jungle mid synergy, it seems like, and they're able to pull through in a number of games using that, as opposed to last year, just they kind of hung around and waited for teams to mess up around them or something.
And that's the thing. The difference between Game 1, Game 2 here is Game 2 was so much more dominant, right? We had a 14K gold lead around 27 minutes into the game. Makes it rather difficult to analyze, to a certain extent, this individual game. But what we can do is we can look at EchoFox as a squad and the fact that they have such an oppressive early game.
Right. I mean, if you look at the early game leads on your screen right now, they're #1 in the league, and I think all 3 of those categories. So they're kind of like this high-octane race car. They go at their own speed. They're going to try and run you over, and if you don't, stop them.
They might crash every once in a while,
they'll
right?
go off the rails on their own. They'll bump into a wall, but if they're unchecked, they can run you over.
Exactly, and that's the thing here with CLG, a team that would generally like to play a little bit slower. You can definitely see it. As soon as that gold lead goes over in favor of EchoFox, they really start to struggle to find the picks and claw back into the game. Aside from maybe, as you mentioned, there was the 1 death from Acadian invading a little bit too far. He had 8 kills. 8 kills, 1 death. Fine, I'll take that 1 mistake every game if he's gonna pick up that kind of gold lead from my squad.
Right, and there was another dive around the top side where Looper went a little too far. And those are the kind of mistakes that they seem to make, where they just go a little too aggressive, and a good team can punish them, and sometimes they make their own mistakes with positioning and things. But if you don't check this team, they will destroy you. And that's kind of what happened this game, where CLG, they seem to have coordination issues. They're going aggressive in the bot lane when their mid lane's dead, and then they just get roamed on and killed. So CLG is a team that I think matches up really bad against this style, where they seem to struggle if you put a lot of pressure on them.
And EchoFox, just as a result of this, seems to me like one of the scariest teams in the league. If I'm sitting in, and I'll tell you why, is because if I'm sitting here at top of the table, I'm C9, I'm undefeated, or I'm FlyQuest, right? Look at the 1 game that FlyQuest has lost. It was to EchoFox. How did they lose it? Had a poor early game. EchoFox has strong early games. They can push that advantage. As you mentioned, when pressure's coming at you that quickly, sometimes it doesn't matter how well you or how intelligently you can react, you will just screw up by having to move that quickly. And I think that's where a team like TSM, Phoenix One, C9, FlyQuest could get into trouble just because of how quickly they're forced to move. Not that they wouldn't have a good answer for it. but that they're going to have to implement it so quickly. And Echo Fox is changing the pace of the game here in the North American LCS.
I think that's one of the things you can definitely look at as stylistic mismatches a little bit. I think CLG is a team that plays up to the level of their competition because when the game gets slower, they are very competent in terms of rotations and their macro understanding of the game. They'll look really good against a higher tier team, but when you get into slugfest, they don't keep pace as well. They're not as 100% comfortable on the champions that they want to play.
Right.
This isn't a great meta for them. We've heard them say so. In that sense, it does make your point about Echo Fox being scary because at any turn, against any team, they can turn on. The fact that Acadian's such a beast in the early game, it doesn't matter who he's matched up against, he will make plays happen.
Right, that's my point, is that CLG, given enough time, I still have faith that they'll make the right decisions.
He has the
right?
faith.
Right? No, I mean, like, we know this roster of 5 guys. They
Yeah.
know how to play the macro game. So if we give them a 50-minute game where they can really set up side lane pushes and rotate to turrets, they will play it out correctly. Echo Fox does not give them that breathing room. And if they don't give TSM the breathing room and they don't give C9 the breathing room, that's the best opportunity for those top-tier teams to take a loss, is what I'm saying. Not saying I would necessarily predict them winning, but it is the way that they would find a loss. Player of the game here goes to Acadian, and this is the thing. When we talk about early game, he's the one who brought it to this Echo Fox squad.
Right, I mean, the early jungle invade, really nice job flashing onto the Syndra after they already forced the flash out of Huhi, so good kind of repeat gank there. Tries to bully Smithy in his own jungle. Obviously, Huhi able to collapse that time, but the fact that he's constantly looking for plays, constantly looking for leads is huge for a team that last season their biggest problem was getting stuff done, and you add Acadian into the mix. He's the perfect fix for them.
Absolutely. Game time from last season compared to game time for this season is probably very absurd when it comes to this Echo Fox squad. Now, we still have another matchup coming